Welcome to The Money Map, a series dedicated to helping you navigate the complex world of personal finance. In this series, we will explore various topics related to money management, including budgeting, investing, and saving for retirement. Our goal is to provide you with the tools and knowledge you need to make informed decisions about your financial and achieve your financial goals. Join us as we embark on this journey to financial freedom and success. The psychology of money. Money is a powerful force that affects our lives in countless ways, from the decision we make to the lifestyle we lead. But have you ever stopped to consider why you think about the money the way you do? In The Psychology of Money, author Morgan Housel delves deep into the complex relationship between humans and money, exploring the many psychological factors that influence our financial decisions through compelling stories and insightful analysis. Housel challenges conventional wisdom and offers a new perspective on how we can better understand and manage our money. The Psychology of Money is made of 4 important chapters: the role of luck and risk, never enough, adaptation, and the big pictures. In this episode, we are going to discuss the role of luck and risk in our financial lives. But don't worry, we are not going to bore you with long lecture and investing strategies. Instead, we keep it fun and interesting with related examples and stories. First, let's talk about the luck. Housel argues that luck plays a much bigger role in our financial success than we often realize. He gives the example of 2 people who invest in the same stock at the same time. One person makes a fortune while the other loses everything. Was the successful investor just smarter, or did they simply get lucky? It's hard to say for sure, but luck likely played a big role in their success. To further illustrate this point, let's take a look at the world of professional sports. There are countless examples of athletes who have achieved incredible success due in part of luck. Take basketball for instance. A player can work tirelessly on their skill and practice every day, but ultimately, their height plays a huge role in their success. If you are not tall enough, no amount of hard work will make up for it. Now, let's talk about risk. Housel argues that risk is an essential part of investing, but it's often misunderstood. Many people equate risk with volatility, but the two are not the same thing. Volatility refers to the ups and downs of the stock market, while risk refers to the likelihood of losing money. To illustrate this point, let's take a look at the classic casino game, roulette. When you play roulette, you have the option to bet on a number or a color. Betting on a specific number is riskier than betting on a color because the odds of winning are lower. However, betting on a color is still risky because there is always a chance that you will lose. The key is to find a balance between risk and reward. So, what can we learn from all of this? Well, the first thing is that luck plays a much bigger role in our financial success than we often realize. While hard work and skills are certainly important, luck can make or break our financial future. Secondly, risk is an essential part of investing, but it is important to understand what we are actually risking. And finally, finding a balance between risk and a reward is a key to achieving financial success. We hope you enjoyed this episode and that it gave you some insight into the world of investing. Join us next time as we dive deep into the chapter 2 of The Psychology of Money. Thanks for listening. Hey, before ending this episode, share your thoughts on chapter 1. We like to interact with you and wanna know what's your thoughts on our podcast. And if you know any financial book that can change others' life, just mention it in comments. So we will make the podcast of the book in our upcoming The Money Map series. Welcome to our podcast episode on Chapter 2 of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. In this episode, we are going to discuss the concept of never enough and how it impacts our financial decision. But don't worry, we are not going to lecture you on the importance of budgeting. Instead, we keep it fun and interesting with relatable examples and stories. First, let's talk about why we always seem to want more. Housel argues that our desire for more is hardwired into our brain. We evolved in constantly seek out more resources in order to survive. However, in today's world, this drive for more can lead us down a path of financial ruin. To illustrate this point, let's take a look at the classic tale, The Emperor's New Clothes. The emperor is so obsessed with his appearance and what others think of him that he falls for a scam and ends up walking around naked. In the same way, we can become so obsessed with the material possession and what others think of us that we make poor financial decisions. So, what can we do about it? Housel argues that key is to be content with what we have. This doesn't mean that we should not strive to improve our financial situation, but it does mean that we should be grateful for what we have and not constantly seek out more. Chapter 3: Adaptations. First, let's talk about why adaptation is important. Housel argues that our expectation can change over time, and if we are not able to adapt these changes, we can make poor financial decisions. For example, let's say that you get a rise at work. At first, you are thrilled with extra income and you are able to save more money. However, over time, your expectations change and you start spending more money on luxuries. If you are not able to adapt to these changes in expectation, you may find yourself in debt. To further illustrate this point, let's take a look at the world of technology. Companies that are able to adapt to changes in technology are more likely to be successful than those that don't. For example, Kodak was once a giant in the photography industry, but they failed to adapt to the rise of digital photography and ultimately went bankrupt. So, what can we learn from all of this? Well, the first thing is that our expectation can change over time, and it's important to be aware of this. Secondly, being able to adapt to these changes is key to be achieving financial success. And finally, companies that are able to adapt to the change in technology are more likely to be successful than those that don't. We hope you enjoyed this episode and that it gave you some insight into the world of financial adaptation. Join us next time as we dive deep into the chapter 4 of the Psychology of Money. Thanks for listening. Welcome to our final episode of the Psychology of Money podcast, where we've been exploring the fascinating world of financial psychology with insights from Morgan Housel book. In this episode, we will be discussing Chapter 4, which talks about the importance of having a big picture view of our finances. As we've been discussed in the previous episode, many of us fall into the trap of short-term thinking when it comes to our finances. We focus on the immediate gains and losses and forget to consider the long-term consequences of our decision. But as Housel argues, having a big picture view of our finances can help us make better decisions and avoid costly mistakes. To illustrate this point, let's consider the example of retirement planning. Many people are so focused on their current financial situation that they neglect to plan for their retirement years. This short-term thinking can lead to lack of saving, inadequate investment planning, and a reduced quality of life in retirement. On the other hand, those who take a big picture view of their finances and plan for retirement early on are able to make better decisions about their savings, investment, and lifestyle choices. They can make informed decisions about how to allocate their resources over the long term to ensure that they have enough to sustain their lifestyle in retirement. So, as we conclude this podcast series on the psychology of money, we encourage you to take big picture view of your finances. Think beyond the short-term gains and losses and consider the long-term consequences of your financial decision. This will help you make better decisions and ultimately achieve your financial goals. Before we wrap up, we like to leave you with a question. What is one financial decision you made in the past that you wish you had taken a big picture view of? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's continue the conversation. Thanks for tuning into our podcast series, and we hope you found it informative and engaging.